Commander Elias Ward had spent most of his life drifting through quiet corners of space, far from political drama, royal families, and anything that required him to wear a clean uniform. He liked simple missions, mapping new routes, delivering supplies, helping lost colonies fix broken systems. Nothing glorious, nothing dangerous, nothing that required him to risk his life for more than basic decency. But fate did not care about what Elias preferred. On the 23rd day of his journey through the Varan expanse, a region filled with silent colors and drifting crystals of frozen gases, he picked up a strange signal. It was faint, like a whisper trapped between stars. And at first he thought it was just radio noise. Half the time, signals around the expanse came from natural distortions or reflected pulses from ancient debris. He would have ignored it, but then he heard it again. A soft, trembling voice, repeating a single word in a language his translator struggled to decode. It was a distress call from a Lyrathi ship. He froze. The Lyrathi Dominion was one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, known for their advanced technology and their cold discipline. Humans and Lyrathi did not fight openly, but they avoided each other whenever possible. The Lyrathi believed humans were reckless, impulsive creatures who solved their problems with noise and chaos. Humans, in return, thought Lyrathi were emotionless and unfriendly. Elias had never met one in person, and he was fine with keeping things that way, but he could not ignore the tremble in that voice. Someone was afraid. Someone needed help. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the blinking light on his console. His ship, the Skylark, was small and not built for rescue operations. He had limited weapons, no ground team, and absolutely no diplomatic authority to deal with Lyrathi royalty or soldiers. If he interfered, he could cause an incident. Yet leaving someone to die simply because they belonged to another species was not something he could live with. He sighed and rubbed his forehead. Of course it has to be complicated, he muttered to himself, but he set his course anyway. The distress signal led him through a thin corridor of frozen clouds and unstable radiation. He had to navigate slowly, adjusting shields whenever sharp waves hit. It took nearly an hour before the debris appeared on the scanners, small pieces at first, then larger hunks of metal floating silently like broken wings. When the Skylark pushed through the last cluster of debris, Elias finally saw the ship, or what was left of it. A diplomatic transport, its hull cracked open in 3 places, its engines dark and flickering. The smooth, silver-blue metal of Lyrathi design was scorched with black marks. Something terrible had happened, an accident, an attack, or a system failure, but whatever it was, it had been sudden. Elias felt his stomach tighten. His sensors detected no life signs except one faint signal deep inside the wreckage. Only one survivor. He adjusted the docking clamps and aligned the Skylark with the torn side of the larger ship. The metal groaned when he attached his airlock. The readings showed thin oxygen, unstable gravity, and temperature far below freezing. He grabbed his emergency suit and helmet, running a quick power check before stepping into the airlock. The moment the door opened, a wave of cold air hit him. The interior of the Lyrathi ship was eerily silent, every sound swallowed by the frozen corridors. He moved slowly, shining his light across shattered panels, drifting tools, and cracked display screens. The Lyrathi had beautiful architecture, smooth curves, soft glowing symbols, but now everything looked broken and empty. The survivor's signal came from a chamber farther inside. Elias followed the blinking marker on his wrist pad, stepping over bits of fallen ceiling and floating shards. When he reached the door, it was stuck halfway open. He forced it wider and shined his light inside. A small figure curled behind an overturned console, trembling. She was Lyrathi, pale silver skin, long soft markings along her arms, delicate ridges on her temple that faintly glowed when she breathed. Her eyes were large, luminous blue, reflecting the light like deep water. But what startled Elias was her size. She was a child, very young, no more than 7 or 8 in human years, though Lyrathi aged differently. Her clothes were formal and finely woven, like something from a royal household. This was not an ordinary passenger. The girl flinched when she saw him and pressed herself against the wall. Her voice shook as she spoke in her native tongue. words tumbling out too fast for him to understand. "Easy," Elias said gently, holding up both hands. The translator beeped weakly, catching a few words. "Danger. Alone. Scared. Help. Please." Her breathing was fast and frightened, but she stayed still as Elias approached slowly. He knelt down, offering his hand. "My name is Elias Ward," he said softly. "You're safe now. I'm going to take you to my ship." The girl hesitated, studying his face, his suit, his strange human features. Lyrathi were known for their calm judgment, but fear had clouded her expression. Still, after a long moment, she reached out her own small hand. Her fingers were cold. Elias wrapped her carefully in a thermal emergency blanket and scanned her for injuries. She had a few bruises and mild oxygen deprivation, but nothing serious. She was lucky. Incredibly lucky. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl whispered something, and the translator processed it slowly. "Serenai," it finally pronounced. "Serenai." He tried repeating it, and she nodded weakly. He carried her through the broken corridors, speaking gently whenever she grew nervous. She clung to his suit, shivering from cold and fear. The Skylark felt warmer and safer the moment they stepped inside. He set her on a seat near the heater and removed her damaged breathing collar. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She didn't understand the words, but she recognized the tone and nodded timidly. He gave her a small nutrient packet from the universal rations drawer. Nothing fancy, but safe for most species. She tasted it carefully, then ate with small, grateful bites. For the first time, she looked less afraid. Elias activated a soft heat lamp to help her warm up. Serenai watched everything around her with wide eyes, his screens, his ship layout, even the glow of his kettle as he made warm water for her hands. Lyrathi children were rarely allowed outside royal vessels, which meant this little girl had probably never seen a human ship before. As she explored the blanket with her fingers, Elias checked the long-range scanners. His stomach tightened again when the results loaded. The Lyrathi fleet was already moving. They must have detected the loss of the diplomatic ship and were searching for survivors. The size of the incoming signatures suggested high-ranking vessels, some with royal identification codes, which meant Serenai was not just a child. She was someone important, possibly very important. He turned to her slowly. She looked up at him with a soft glow in her eyes. "Serenai," he said carefully, "I need to ask you something." He tapped the display, showing a symbol representing the royal Lyrathi crest. She recognized it instantly. Her face filled with sadness and worry, and she touched the symbol with trembling fingers. "Family," she whispered. The translator clicked. "Mother. Princess. Home." Elias inhaled sharply. That meant she was the daughter of a Lyrathi princess royalty. And with the fleet approaching, the situation had become delicate. He was a lone human with a royal Lyrathi child on his ship. One wrong move, and the Dominion might think he had taken her for political reasons, ransom, or worse. Humans were already seen as unpredictable. The rescue itself might be misunderstood. He looked down at Serenai, who gazed at him with trust, slowly replacing fear. How could he explain to her that her rescue might start a misunderstanding between two entire civilizations? He couldn't, not without frightening her again. Instead, he knelt beside her and said gently, "I will take you home." She did not understand every word, but she understood his voice, his calmness, the promise behind his expression. She nodded and leaned against his arm. Exhausted from everything she had endured, Elias checked the approaching signals again. The ships would reach him soon. He needed to prepare a clear explanation. Set his ship to broadcast all sensor logs and display full transparency. He hoped that would be enough. He hoped they would believe him. He hoped this choice, this simple act of compassion, would not ignite something larger than both of them. But as Serenai fell asleep against him, her small breathing soft and steady, Elias knew he would protect her no matter what happened when the fleet arrived. Because she was a child, because she was alone, because he would not let fear or politics decide her fate, and because, deep in his heart, Elias believed that helping someone, anyone, was the one thing that defined who humans truly were. Elias did not sleep the night the Lirathi fleet arrived. He spent every minute preparing for the moment their ships would drop out of warp. Saranai slept in the small medical cot behind him, wrapped in a heated blanket, her breathing soft and even. Every time she shifted, Elias looked back to make sure she was still comfortable. It felt strange how quickly he had grown protective of a child he had met only hours before, but something about her quiet courage, her calm acceptance of him, made him feel responsible in a way he had not expected. He uploaded all his sensor data recordings of the wreck, recovery logs, life support readings to a clean channel. He double-checked the message he had prepared. He even cleaned the edges of his control screens, though he knew it changed nothing. The Lirathi wouldn't care about dust on a human console. They cared about honor, clear intention, and transparency. The scanners flashed bright silver blue. The fleet had arrived. Elias stood from his chair. His heart beat harder than usual, but he forced himself to breathe evenly. He activated the visual window. Outside, the dark expanse of space shimmered as enormous shapes came out of warp one by one. Their ships were sleek, curved, glowing faintly with lines of pale light. Even from a distance, they radiated elegance and power. The largest vessel, almost the size of a small moon, positioned itself directly in front of him. Elias recognized the emblem on the hull, 3 intersecting spirals, representing the royal line. Saranai's family. She shifted in her sleep, reacting to the subtle vibration of energy in the air. Her eyes opened slowly. For a moment she looked confused, then afraid, until she saw Elias. He went to her, kneeling beside the cot. "Everything's okay," he whispered. "Your people are here." She sat up and rubbed her eyes. When she looked at the massive ship on the screen, her expression changed completely. Her eyes widened with recognition. She reached one hand toward the window, her fingers trembling with emotion. She whispered something in her language, soft but filled with relief. "Family." Elias helped her stand. She held his hand tightly as the communication request came through. He took a deep breath and accepted the connection. The screen split, revealing the image of a tall Lirathi woman with intricate silver markings across her face. Her clothing was ceremonial, detailed with soft glowing threads. Her hair was long and smooth, tied in a pattern that represented high rank. Even without introduction, Elias knew who she was: the princess, Saranai's mother. Her expression was calm at first, almost unreadable. Lirathi nobility rarely showed their emotions openly. Then her eyes fell on the small figure beside Elias. Her breath caught visibly. Her composure cracked for a single second. "Saranai," she whispered. Saranai stepped closer to the screen. She put her palm against the glass. The princess mirrored the motion, a gesture full of meaning in Lirathi: culture, connection, safety, acknowledgement of life. Elias stayed quiet, letting them share the silent moment. When the princess finally spoke, her voice was firm but gentle. "Human vessel. Identify yourself." "Commander Elias Ward of the Terran Exploration Corps," he replied. He kept his tone calm and respectful. "I found your daughter in a damaged transport. I brought her aboard to keep her safe." The princess studied him carefully, not with suspicion, but with intense focus, as if she were examining every detail of his behavior. "She is unharmed?" "Yes, a few bruises, but nothing serious." "And you cared for her yourself?" "Yes." She paused again. Her expression softened. Something subtle but unmistakable. Lirathi nobility valued actions over words. Elias knew the moment she realized he had done more than rescue Saranai. He had protected her with no expectation of reward. "I will speak with you further," the princess said. "Prepare for transfer." The screen faded. Elias turned to Saranai. She still held his hand tightly. He smiled reassuringly. "They're going to take you home now." But instead of letting go, she stepped closer, touching her forehead lightly to his arm. It was a Lirathi gesture he had read about once, a sign of gratitude, given only to someone who earned deep trust. "Thank you," Saranai whispered in halting translated words. He felt something twist warmly in his chest. "You're welcome." Minutes later, the docking signal activated. A soft blue corridor of energy extended from the royal vessel to the Skylark. Elias carried Serenai gently through the airlock. The moment the inner door opened, 3 Larathi attendants rushed forward. They stopped a respectful distance away, bowing to Serenai. She stepped into their arms, but she looked back repeatedly to make sure Elias was still there. The princess arrived moments later. She moved with grace, her steps silent, her expression full of dignity. But when she reached Serenai, she knelt and wrapped her arms around the child tightly. Not noble-like, not formal, pure, relieved affection. Elias looked away, giving them privacy. When he looked back, the princess was standing again, her hand resting protectively on Serenai's shoulder. She turned to Elias. "You saved my daughter," she said. He nodded. "Anyone would have." "No," she replied gently. "Not anyone." She studied him again, as though measuring something inside him. "The queen has demanded your presence." Elias blinked. "The queen?" "The queen of the Lyrathi Dominion," she clarified. "My mother." That explained the enormous ship outside. That explained the sudden escalation. Royal protocol required serious treatment of any event involving an heir. Elias cleared his throat. "I was not expecting an audience with the queen. Few ever are," the princess replied softly. "But she has declared a night of gratitude for you." Serenai extended her hands toward him in a pleading gesture, as if asking him not to leave her yet. Understanding her daughter's silent request, the princess sighed with a small smile. "You may accompany us," she said to Elias. "The queen wishes to see you immediately." The attendants guided them through a grand hallway that felt like walking through glowing stone. The walls shimmered with soft colors that changed with every step. Lyrathi ships were not built the way human ships were. Their architecture felt alive, as if it breathed with energy. Serenai clung to her mother's hand with one hand and reached back for Elias with the other. He took her small hand gently. They entered a large chamber with towering windows showing endless stars. At the center stood the queen. She was taller than most Lyrathi, with markings more intricate than anyone Elias had seen. Her eyes glowed softly, full of intelligence and calm strength. She wore a long robe woven with shimmering strands that moved like flowing water. When she spoke, her voice was deep and resonant, echoing slightly in the chamber. "Commander Elias Ward." Elias bowed his head respectfully, unsure of the exact gesture expected. The queen seemed amused by his uncertainty. "You rescued my granddaughter," she said. "You entered a broken ship without knowing what danger waited inside. You protected her with care, even though our two peoples are not close allies." "I couldn't leave her there," Elias said simply. The queen nodded slowly. "You acted with honor." The room fell silent for a moment. Serenai ran to the queen and wrapped her arms around the elder Lyrathi's leg. The queen placed a gentle hand on her head. Then she turned back to Elias. "Tonight, you will take part in the Night of Gratitude. It is a sacred offering of respect to one who has performed a great service to the royal line." Elias blinked. I don't know your customs, ma'am." "You will," the queen replied. "You will be guided." She stepped closer to him. Though calm, her presence was powerful, as if the room itself leaned toward her. "Do not fear this night, human. It is not a punishment. It is an honor very few receive." Serenai tugged at his hand again. "With us," she whispered softly, her newly learned human words uncertain but heartfelt. Elias felt a strange warmth fill his chest. He had only planned to rescue a child. He had not expected royal ceremonies, ancient traditions, or standing before the queen of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. But he nodded. "I'll stay." The queen gave a single approving nod. Then the night of gratitude will begin when the nebula rises. As he followed the attendants deeper into the heart of the royal ship, Elias felt a mix of curiosity and nervousness. He had no idea what awaited him. But he knew one thing for certain. His life had changed the moment he found Serenai in that broken ship, and whatever came next, he would face it with the same simple truth that guided him before. Helping someone in need was never the wrong choice. Elias followed the attendants through winding corridors of soft light and polished surfaces. The walls glowed faintly, pulsating in rhythm with the ship's energy core. Scifi stayed close, occasionally glancing up at him with a mixture of curiosity and cautious excitement. She had never seen anything like this before. Even in royal settings described in her memory, the Lyrathi were meticulous, but these corridors felt alive, almost welcoming. They stopped before a set of tall, oval doors. The attendants gestured for Elias and Scifi to enter. He took a deep breath and pushed the doors open, revealing a large circular chamber filled with a soft ambient glow. In the center stood a pool of liquid that shimmered with color, reflecting the light from above in thousands of shifting patterns. Around the pool were tall, curved pillars etched with glowing symbols, ancient Lyrathi script that Elias could not read. Despite not understanding the meaning, he felt the weight of history pressing gently against him. "This is the Hall of Gratitude," one of the attendants said, motioning for him to step forward. "The night begins when the nebula rises." Elias glanced at Scifi. She squeezed his hand tightly, her small face glowing with wonder. He smiled reassuringly. "We'll see it together," he whispered. The queen arrived moments later, her robe flowing like liquid metal. She moved silently to a position beside the pool, her eyes observing Elias carefully. The attendants stepped back, forming a wide circle around the central chamber. For a moment, Elias felt completely exposed, as if the chamber itself were evaluating him. "You understand why you are here," the queen said softly, yet her voice filled the room. "This night is not a celebration of power, nor is it a trial of strength. It is a trial of character. Every choice you make tonight will reflect who you truly are." Elias nodded. "I understand. You may proceed," the queen said. "The first part is the memory reflection." A soft hum filled the room, and the pool began to ripple. Elias stepped closer. The water shimmered, then rose into a column of light that formed images around him. At first, he saw small flashes his childhood on Earth, learning to fix machines and help people. Moments when he chose to act even when it was inconvenient. Then the images grew larger, showing scenes from his career, rescuing a stranded colony, helping negotiate peace between two minor alien species, saving countless lives with nothing more than ingenuity and patience. The light moved with him, following his every thought. Elias realized the pool reflected not just memory, but intention. It showed his choices, the motives behind them, the courage he had taken for granted. He felt a strange mixture of pride and humility. He had always believed he acted simply because it was the right thing to do. But seeing it here, magnified for all to witness, made him realize how rare those choices were. Even in a galaxy full of intelligent life, acts of pure compassion were not common. The images shifted, and Elias saw Scifi in the wrecked ship. The fear in her eyes, the fragile way she clung to the broken console, the relief when he approached it, was all magnified in the pool. He relived every detail, and a quiet voice whispered in his mind, "This is why you were chosen." Scifi reached for his hand again. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "Like stars, moving like water." Elias smiled. "Yes, and it's yours too, Scifi. You're safe now." The pool dimmed, signaling the end of the memory reflection. The queen nodded, acknowledging Elias's completion of the first part. "You have remembered truthfully," she said. "Now comes the test of insight." From the glowing pillars, projections of various Lyrathi nobles appeared, floating in midair. They did not speak, but their gestures and expressions created challenges for interpretation. Elias understood that he needed to read their intentions, respond carefully, and choose actions that demonstrated empathy, fairness, and wisdom. The first noble's eyes narrowed at him, demanding he act without hesitation. The second raised a hand, questioning his motives. Each movement was subtle, requiring observation and thought. Elias thought quickly. He recalled advice from his mentors on human diplomacy. Observe first, act second, always consider the consequences. He responded to each noble in turn, showing respect while maintaining honesty. The projections seemed to study him, testing not only his intelligence but his humanity, the capacity to care beyond self-interest. When the last projection faded, the Queen's voice echoed softly. Insight requires patience and understanding. You have shown both. Now comes the final part. The alignment. The pool shifted again, and a series of floating platforms appeared above the water, glowing faintly. Elias understood without explanation. He needed to navigate them. Each platform represented a choice, a moment where instinct, courage, and morality would be tested. Stepping onto a platform caused it to light up and float slightly higher, revealing the next challenge. Some platforms wobbled, while others glowed warmly, inviting steady movement. One choice required him to move carefully so that Scifi, standing behind him, would not be frightened. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward. He felt the balance beneath his feet, adjusting as the platforms responded to his movements. Scifi watched quietly, trusting him completely. Her faith gave him strength. Each step was deliberate, each choice thoughtful, each motion a reflection of his desire to protect and act rightly. Halfway through, a platform shifted unexpectedly, revealing a deep, dark void beneath. Elias hesitated but did not panic. He adjusted his footing and focused on the next safe step. His mind worked like a machine, weighing probabilities. But his heart reminded him of what truly mattered: protecting Scifi, doing what was right, maintaining calm under pressure. These were the qualities the trial sought. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, he reached the final platform. It glowed brightly and expanded to form a solid bridge connecting to the far side of the pool. Elias stepped onto it, feeling the weight of every decision behind him. Scifi rushed forward, following his example with careful steps. Together, they reached the far side safely. The pool's light expanded, filling the room with shimmering colors. The Queen approached, her expression unreadable for a moment, then softened. She extended a hand, not in command, but in acknowledgement. "You have completed the night of gratitude, human," she said. "Not through force, not through cleverness alone, but through your heart, your courage, and your capacity to care for another being." Elias bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what anyone should have." The Queen's eyes glowed faintly. "Perhaps, but few do. That is why you are honored." Scifi stepped forward, wrapping her small hands around his. "You're a hero," she whispered. "The bravest human I know." Elias smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. He had never sought recognition, but hearing it from a child who had faced fear and survived made the moment meaningful. It was not about titles or fame. It was about trust, kindness, and standing firm in the face of the unknown. The attendants guided them toward a quiet chamber where they could rest. The Queen remained behind, observing from a distance. Elias allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The journey that had begun as a simple rescue had transformed into an encounter with an entire civilization, its history, and its expectations. Yet through it all, the essence of humanity, empathy, courage, and determination had guided him. Scifi curled up in a small cot beside him, exhausted but peaceful. Elias sat nearby, watching her sleep, thinking about the events of the night. The stars outside shimmered like the colors in the pool, vast and endless, reminding him that the galaxy was full of wonders, dangers, and unexpected connections. He realized that humans were not always seen as sophisticated or reliable by other species. Yet here, in this sacred moment within the heart of Lyrathi culture, his species had been recognized for qualities that mattered most. Intelligence, strength, and technology were admirable, but it was compassion, courage, and integrity that earned trust and respect. That realization filled him with quiet pride. Morning came slowly, though not in the way humans measured it. The nebula outside shifted colors, bathing the chamber in soft light. Scifi awoke first, blinking in the gentle glow. Elias smiled at her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Did you sleep well?" he asked softly. She nodded. "The pool. It was beautiful, like stars in water," she said. Her words were simple, but her meaning clear. The memory of the night of gratitude had stayed with her, already shaping her understanding of courage, kindness, and trust. Elias stood and stretched, glancing at the chamber where the queen had held her vigil. He felt both nervous and curious about what would come next. The night of gratitude had been an honor, but it was only the beginning. The Dominion's leadership now knew him, and his actions had set a precedent. Humanity's place in their eyes had changed overnight. The princess arrived with serene eye, her expression calm but full of pride. "You did well," she said quietly to Elias. "Few humans could have earned this honor. The queen respects your choices." Elias nodded, humbled. "I only helped a child. Anyone would have done the same." The princess shook her head slightly. "Not anyone. That is why the queen wishes to meet you again soon, to discuss matters of trust and alliance. The Dominion values deeds as much as words. You have demonstrated the essence of what it means to be reliable." Elias felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He had not expected diplomacy, treaties, or political discussions, but he understood that actions could speak louder than words, and now his actions had spoken for humanity. Serene tugged his hand gently. "Can we go home soon?" she asked, a small frown creasing her brow. Elias smiled. "Soon. But first, we must meet the queen again." The princess watched the exchange with a quiet smile. "She trusts you," she said. "And because of that trust, so do I." Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The night of gratitude had been a test, a journey through memory, insight, and courage. Now, the true challenge awaited, navigating the delicate web of alliances, respect, and expectations that bound the Lirathi Dominion and humanity together. He knew he could not fail, not because of fear, but because he had already made a choice that defined him. He would face whatever came next with the same honesty, compassion, and determination that had guided him from the start. And for the first time in his life, he understood fully that one simple act rescuing a child could change the course of history. Elias stood in the observation chamber of the Royal Lirathi vessel, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. Serene stood beside him, her small hand in his, her eyes wide as she traced the patterns of the distant nebulae. For a human, space was already endless and mysterious. But here, aboard a Lirathi ship of unimaginable size and elegance, it felt like the universe itself had taken a moment to pause and watch. The Queen's summons had arrived hours earlier. It was formal and clear. Elias was to meet her personally once more. This was not a casual greeting or a ceremony, but a discussion that could shape the future of humans and Lirathi alike. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel nervous. After everything, the rescue, the night of gratitude, the trials, this felt like the real test. Serene looked up at him. "Do you have to go?" she asked softly. Elias knelt to her level. "Yes, but I won't be gone long. And I promise, you'll be safe." She nodded, though her grip on his hand tightened slightly. The chamber doors opened, and the Queen appeared, moving with her usual silent grace. Her eyes, a soft glow of silver blue, regarded Elias carefully. He bowed respectfully, mindful of the weight of tradition and honor. "Commander Ward," she began, her voice both firm and warm, "you have demonstrated the courage and character that few of your kind possess. You have acted without expectation, and yet your actions have far-reaching consequences." Elias straightened. "Your Majesty, I only did what I believed was right. I did not seek reward or recognition." The Queen's lips curved slightly, as if amused and pleased simultaneously. "Indeed, that is why your actions carry such weight. The night of gratitude revealed the essence of your nature: patience, empathy, and courage. And it is precisely these qualities that the Dominion values in an ally." Elias blinked, unsure if he had understood correctly. "An ally?" he asked. "Yes," the Queen replied. "The galaxy grows more complex, more intertwined, and humanity stands at a crossroads. Few species have the flexibility, resourcefulness, and moral clarity necessary to navigate it wisely. Your deeds have shown that humans, though often underestimated, are capable of great reliability and honor. He swallowed. The weight of her words was enormous. The Lirathi Empire was vast, powerful, and centuries old. If they considered humanity trustworthy, it could change the balance of power in ways he could scarcely imagine. Your people will welcome you as a friend of the throne, the queen continued. A title granted only to those who act with integrity in the face of uncertainty. It is a symbolic bond, but one of profound significance. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. It was not just personal pride. It was something larger. Humanity, a species often seen as reckless, had earned a place of respect among one of the galaxy's greatest empires, and this recognition had come not through force or cunning, but through simple, steadfast humanity. The queen gestured to Saranai. And the child you saved, my granddaughter, has already spoken of your bravery. She has chosen to speak freely of you to me, without fear, without hesitation. That is trust, Commander Ward. And it is earned. Saranai looked up at him and smiled. I told her about you, she said softly. About how you didn't leave me behind. Elias knelt beside her again, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I will always make sure you're safe, he whispered. The queen studied the two of them for a long moment, then turned back to Elias. Your presence has also demonstrated another truth to the Dominion. That humans, despite their differences, can be agents of stability and compassion in a galaxy filled with uncertainty. This is the essence of what we call the Night of Gratitude. It is not simply a ritual, but a revelation of character. And you have passed with distinction. Elias nodded, feeling humbled. I did not realize it was so important. I only wanted to help a child. And that, Commander, the Queen said, is why it matters so greatly. She gestured to the observation window. Look out there. See the stars. The nebulae. To the Dominion, the galaxy is full of potential, danger, and opportunity. A single choice, made with care, can ripple outward across worlds and generations. You have made such a choice, and in doing so, you have shaped the future. He followed her gaze. Beyond the glass, the stars stretched endlessly. The colors of the nebulae shimmered and shifted, blending in ways that no human telescope could fully capture. For the first time, he truly felt the vastness of the galaxy, and his small part within it. Saranai tugged at his sleeve. Do you think they will like humans? She asked softly. Elias smiled. I think they already do. The Queen's voice cut gently through their quiet conversation. Commander, I have a proposal. Elias turned, alert but cautious. You have earned our trust, she continued, and the Dominion has long observed humanity with interest, even from a distance. Now, through your actions, we see that humans possess qualities we can respect, qualities we can rely upon in times of need. Therefore, I wish to extend an invitation. Elias listened closely, heart steady despite curiosity and nervousness. To establish a formal liaison, the Queen said, between the Dominion and your species. A human representative, stationed within our council, to advise, learn, and build bonds that will endure for generations. He blinked. This was beyond anything he could have imagined. Diplomacy, alliances, interstellar influence all within reach, because he had chosen to help a child in need. I don't know what to say, he admitted. Then say nothing, the Queen replied. Let your actions continue to speak for you. Accept this honor if you wish. And know that humanity now holds a place of respect among the stars. Saranai's small hand squeezed his. He looked down at her, realizing that the child he had rescued was now the bridge between two civilizations. She had trusted him, and through that trust, he had shaped history. I accept, he said finally, his voice steady. For humanity, and for Saranai. The Queen inclined her head. Wise choice. This is not simply a reward. It is a responsibility. And I have every confidence that you will rise to meet it. Later, Elias was escorted through the corridors of the ship, now familiar to him after a night of trials. Yet each turn revealed something new. A detail of architecture, a symbol of history, a glimpse into the culture of a civilization older and wiser than he could fully comprehend. He felt a quiet respect, knowing that his presence here was temporary, but his actions had lasting impact. Scifi walked beside him, chatting softly about the patterns she had seen in the nebula, about the shimmering lights, about the beauty of the chamber where the night of gratitude had taken place. Her curiosity reminded him that discovery and wonder were universal, transcending species. As they approached the observation deck, the princess joined them. She smiled warmly, a rare expression of human-like tenderness. "You have done more than rescue my daughter," she said. "You have proven that humanity can be trusted. The Dominion will not forget this. And neither will Scifi." Quote, Scifi leaned against her mother, then looked up at Elias. "Will you come back?" she asked quietly. He smiled. "I will. You've earned a friend in me, and I've earned a place in your world." The princess nodded. "Then you are always welcome here." Elias took one last look at the chamber, the pool of shimmering light, and the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. But he had learned something important. Courage, empathy, and honesty could shine brighter than any weapon or machine. These qualities mattered, even across worlds, species, and civilizations. As he prepared to leave, the Queen appeared once more. Her eyes softened. "Remember, Commander Ward, the smallest act of compassion can echo across light years. You have demonstrated this. Humanity has its place among the stars. Because of you. Thank you for watching." Also with a velvet of calm, Elias bowed deeply. "I will remember your majesty." With that, he returned to the Skylark, Scifi by his side. She clung briefly to the railing, watching as the royal vessel slowly moved away, its glow fading into the distance. "Do you think they'll be okay?" she asked, looking up at him. "They will," he said, adjusting the controls for their jump back toward human space. "And we'll be okay too. We did what needed to be done. That's all any of us can do." The engines hummed as the Skylark slipped through space, leaving behind the grandeur of the Larathi Dominion. Elias glanced at Scifi, who smiled up at him, her fear replaced with trust, curiosity, and quiet confidence. For Elias, the journey had begun with a single choice: to help a child in need. And that choice had grown into something far greater than he could have imagined, a bond between civilizations, a recognition of humanity, and a reminder that courage and compassion could change the course of history. He looked out at the stars, feeling a profound sense of connection. The galaxy was vast, but human determination, empathy, and bravery could leave a mark that would endure. And as long as humans continued to act with integrity and heart, they could meet any challenge, inspire trust, and even reshape the universe in ways no one had thought possible. Scifi leaned against him, whispering, "Thank you, Elias." He smiled down at her. "No, thank you. You reminded me why we do what we do. And together, we'll face whatever comes next." The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of mysteries, challenges, and possibilities. And Elias Ward, a human in a galaxy far from home, felt for the first time that humanity truly belonged among them. He had saved a child, earned the respect of an empire, and discovered that sometimes the smallest acts could have the greatest impact. And with that knowledge, he and Scifi set a course for home, ready for whatever adventures awaited among the stars.